Hi folks, Will here back once again as we're going to be breaking down UFC on Fox, Rumble versus Bader from the Prudential Centre in New Jersey. Overall, this card I don't think it's really a good looking Fox card in all honesty. Some decent matchups throughout, but not an awful lot to be honest with you. A few newcomers which I like the look of. We get to see Sage Northcutt again, which he's in a changing opponent the last few days, but there is some stars that I really like through this. Quick shout out to a few of the boys who I try and support as much as possible. Half the Battle with Daniel Levy, James Lynch and Colin Bardsley in the Part and Shot podcast, the Severe MMA boys with Sean and Andrew, big fans of those guys. There is Flying Bryan, there is my boy Chad, Rockstar Z's, who makes great prediction videos, so go follow those guys out as well. I just want to see what you guys think of this matchup. If you think Rumble Johnson is going to win this fight, can I have a thumbs up? And if you think Ryan Bader's got a chance, give me a thumbs down. Just I want to see, because I haven't been going back and forward with this one a little bit. But please in the drop down box, leave your comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can, and let me know your predictions for this event. And thank you for the people who did so the following card for Cruz and Dillashaw as well, where I started off okay. I think I went 9-0 for the first 9 fights on the card, and then I had a terrible main card and lost all of them there. So we're going to get into this card straight away. So welterweight division, Matt Dwyer against Randy Brown. Now, Randy Brown, we don't know much about this guy. We seen him on the Dana White show looking for a fight. A very athletic guy, very long guy. He doesn't have much kind of grappling. He's only been in the sport for like a year and a half, so he doesn't have much kind of grappling credentials behind him, but he does put some combinations together really nice. He is very tall for the weight division, against probably the tallest guy in that weight division against Matt Dwyer. Very raw, he's a very raw talent, but he looks, from what I've seen, there's not too much to see out there unless you pay for it, that he doesn't show much yet, but he's a very green fighter coming through. We'll just need to see how he's going to do here. I like the matchup against Matt Dwyer. Matt Dwyer is a tall, lanky welterweight. He's got some power there. Not a whole lot of technique, but he is. If he can keep you at length and keep you away, then he can definitely hurt you there. My pick in this fight is going to be Randy Brown. I think his athleticism and his punching power is going to be enough to really hurt Matt Dwyer. We've seen him being taken out before. I think Randy Brown can actually take this guy out again, so I'm going to go a submission victory, a TKO victory for Randy Brown. I'm going to go in the middle of the second round there. Lightweight division, Tony Martin against Felipe Olivieri. Olivieri is a guy who I've watched in the Jungle Fights organisation, comes out of Nova União, so we know he's going to have some pretty good striking credentials. He's very aggressive, he's a bit of a berserker, he comes forward. I think his kind of main threats is just his power, and he comes forward and he's very, very, very aggressive. Not overly technical, but he does have some big power. He's got them big leg kicks as well. His ground game is ever improving from what I've seen through the Jungle Fights organisation, but he wants to keep this fight on the feet in this one here. Tony Martin, on the other hand, he's pretty good all round, but we should seen last time out against Leonardo Santos, if he's got a discrepancy, it's probably when it goes to the ground. I think his gas tank isn't the best either. So looking at this matchup, I think that Olivieri's going to come out quick, and I think he could catch Tony Martin in this one. So I'm going to go for the newcomer Felipe Olivieri via a first round TKO in this one. But if it goes to the ground, I do lean towards Tony Martin. Featherweight division, we have Levan Makashvili against Damon Jackson. Intriguing matchup here. Looking forward to seeing Jackson again. I think he's had a couple of... he came in against Yancy Medeiros. I think that's a tough fight coming to the UFC on short notice as well. Lost to Honey Jason, and Jason got found out for using diuretics. So he got that win, that loss turned to a no contest. He did get submitted in that fight. A good grappler. Good wrestling chops to him. Not the biggest, best of strikers. Does enough to get you into the clinch, put you against the cage, take you down. and try and work a submission from there. We've seen that beforehand when he was in Legacy. But he's against a guy who I think is just a better overall grappler than what Damon Jackson is, and Makashvili. We've seen in these couple of fights in the UFC, has a nice right hook, not a lot of power behind it, some nice footwork in and out quite well. But his bread and butter is taking to the ground and keeping you there. He's a good grappler. If he puts you against the cage, he doesn't have a bad clinch. He can hit to the body, take you down there. But I just think this fight is going to be all kind of Makashvili trying to... I just think he's the better overall grappler when you look at them two together, and I think that he'll do enough to get a decision here. I think it could be a split. I think Jackson, he needs to show something in this fight if he wants to stay in the UFC. So Levan Makashvili, I'm going to go a split decision for him. Moving on to the first fight of the Fox Sports 1 card, we have Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres against Masio Fullen. This for me is my biggest lock of the whole entire night. I don't really rate Masio Fullen too much. He came off the Ultimate Fighter Latino America, hasn't fought many good guys, struggled last time out against, I think it was Ning Juang. He won that fight via decision. I think he beat Alexander Torres at one of the cards. I think it might have been UFC 184 as well. Aggressive, has a good chin, not really technical. He has been kind of progressively getting his grappling a little bit better, which he's going to need in this one, because I think if it goes to the ground, I think Bruce Leroy has a very definitive advantage once it goes to the ground. But looking at Alex Caceres, he needs this fight. He's fought the better competition, let's get that out there first. But he needs this win really big. I think he might be on the chopping block in the UFC as well. I think this fight is going to hit the ground, and once it hits the ground, I think Alex Caceres is much better submission game. I don't think that Fullen has an overall good defensive jiu-jitsu game down there. I think Caceres, once he gets something, especially if he gets the back, I think he'll throw some strikes to open up Fullen, and then I think that he will find a submission. So my biggest lock of the whole entire event, the guy that I would throw if I had $1,000 to throw money on, I would probably throw it in Alex Caceres. I don't rate Fullen at all really. So yeah, that's my pick. Alex Caceres, first round submission. Welterweight division, we have George Sullivan against Alexander Yakovlev. This could end up being a very sloppy one. Alexander Yakovlev is coming off that win over Gray Maynard, which I don't really think is saying much for your career right now. He is a guy that came into the UFC. I watched his fight with, I think it was Paul Daly, and that's probably that might be his career best performance that I have seen of the fights I've watched of Alexander Yakovlev. George Sullivan, on the other hand, he's coming off a couple of... he won against Igor Araujo, then he lost to Tim Means. Now Tim Means is a tough out for anybody, went the third round there. Very durable guy, he's going to stick around, tough to really stop. I saw him his last fight against Don Waters at the Tough finale back in Vegas in the summer, and he was just against Dominic Waters, who came in very, very late. He's just very gritty, very durable. He has some heavy hands, but he's not overly technical with it. He has enough to kind of get you down to the ground, trap an arm, and really hit away at you with some pretty good ground and pound. I don't see too much in Yakovlev that is really going to hurt Sullivan too much, so I have to go with George Sullivan in this one via a decision, unanimous decision. Flyweight division, we have Dustin Ortiz against Wilson Heiss. Fight I'm looking forward to. Big fan of Dustin Ortiz. Wilson Heiss, I think he's coming off that loss to Farmiga, a guy who very good once it goes to the ground, but I think he has some chin issues. And if you've got chin issues in the flyweight division, you probably have enough to get away with it. He has been dropped. Joby Sanchez dropped him, I think, 2 times in their fight. Do I think that Dustin Ortiz has the overall power to knock out Wilson Heiss? No, I don't. But I think if he gets him to the ground and hits some ground and pound, he could be able to get a TKO stoppage. I think Dustin Ortiz is one of these guys he's just on the cusp of being a really good top-ranked fighter in that division. We've seen against I think it was Joseph Benavidez, that he's kind of really close to moving on to that next level of in that rankings there. He's got wins over Ray Borg and Justin Scoggins, who face off at UFC 196 soon, who are both guys I am very high on, and it's a fight I'm looking forward to seeing. Do I think the win against Dustin Ortiz was very close? I gave it just for Ray Borg, but a lot of people gave that to Dustin Ortiz. The win over Justin Scoggins I thought was a lot more clear. Then he lost to Joseph Benavidez, which I thought he showed a lot in that fight. And then he beat Willie Gates last time he just took Willie Gates down and just elbowed him and punched him really bad. But he was on top in that fight the entire way. I think Dustin Ortiz can finish this fight, and I'm going to go Dustin Ortiz via third round, TKO via ground and pound. Middleweight division, King Kevin Casey against Rafael Natal. Rafael Natal is a guy that sometimes he's so up and down. We've seen him against Uriah Hall. He came out very strong and looked decent in that fight. He got the victory in that fight, which I thought if Uriah Hall screwed on his head, which is typically Uriah Hall, he would starch Rafael Natal. But Natal did enough to get the win there via split decision. Came out against Tom Watson, showed a better chin in that fight. Chris Camozzi beat him once again as well. Kevin Casey was fighting in December. This is quite a short turnaround for a guy who kind of quit to an eye poke against Antonio Carlos Jr. back in Vegas last month. But he does have some big power. The one thing that I do worry about with Kevin Casey is a horrible gas tank. And if this was to go to the ground, it'd be quite a fun fight, because I think that Casey might have enough to stop Natal from catching him down there. He's got some good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills down there. I want to pick Kevin Casey. I've got a funny feeling this could be a surprise victory. He might catch Natal with something. But I'm going to go with Rafael Natal. I think I'm going to go with a late third round TKO for Sapo there. A fight I'm looking forward to. Olivier Aubin-Mercier against Carlos Diego Ferriera in the lightweight division. Okay, so the way I'm kind of breaking this down is that Diego Ferreira is the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, very aggressive on the feet. I thought he looked okay. He's faced the better caliber opponents of what Olivier Aubin-Mercier has. Ferreira, he lost last time out to the Diamond, Dustin Poirier. I think he was just a little bit too aggressive, went forward too much, and Dustin Poirier caught him and unleashed a barrage of punches, hurt him really badly, and got taken out in the first round there. He lost to Beneil Dariush in a decision loss there. So there are two guys that are very, very highly ranked, are going to be highly ranked in the UFC lightweight division. Before that, he had wins over Colton Smith, and he knocked out Ramsey in the gym as well. He has power, very unorthodox with it, and he has a great ground game if it gets down there. Will he get down there? I can see him getting maybe a takedown on Aubin-Mercier, but I can't see him keeping him there. I think Aubin-Mercier he's a judo black belt, so he can take you down from various positions down there, and he has enough probably strength to keep you down there and have enough to get back to your feet if he doesn't want to stay in the ground with you. He's on a 3-fight win streak in the UFC with the wins over Jake Lindsay, David Michaud and Tony Sims. Not victories that really jump out at you. He won a few of them with submissions late on in the fights and them ones there. And he beat Tony Sims, who is very kind of tough in that lightweight division, very tall, very lanky, took him down and did enough in the feet to win that one there. I'm going to go Aubin-Mercier via decision. I think Ferreira has the more chance of a finish, but I like Aubin-Mercier's progression over his last few fights, and I think he does enough to win this fight. And the top fight on the preliminary card is Tarec Saffiedine, the former Strikeforce welterweight champion, against Jake Ellenberber. Now, Tarec Saffiedine is a guy pretty fun to watch. He's a good striker. He's very kind of economical with his striking. He throws a lot of leg kicks, heavy leg kicks, a lot of straights, right hooks, puts some nice kind of combinations together. But he's coming off probably his biggest loss of his career, possibly. He got knocked out by Rory McDonald, which was that's not far off a year and a half. That's crazy to think. Wow. Destroyed Hyung-Yu Lim's leg back in January 2014. To think that's 2 years ago. Oh my god. And then he beat Nate Marquardt back in Strikeforce. I like the matchup with him against Jake Ellenberber here. Ellenberber is a guy I thought was done in the UFC after losses to Kelvin Gastelum and Robbie Lawler, of course. He got knocked out, finished in 2 of those 3 fights that he lost to Rory McDonald. Came back, beat Josh Koscheck, not saying much, and then he got that was a bad knockout he suffered against Wonderboy Thompson back at the Tough finale. It was a beautiful finish. I was losing my shit in the crowd when I was watching that because Stephen Wonderboy's technique is simply beautiful. I like Saffiedine in this one. I think he's going to pepper him on the feet and he's going to win a unanimous decision victory. So I'm going to go Tarec Saffiedine for that. Moving on to the main card. Staying in the welterweight division, we have Super Sage Northcutt against Bryan Bam Bam Barberena. This fight got changed up. It was going to be Andrew Holbrook. It was going to be at lightweight instead of welterweight. And just so I'll let you know who I was going to pick for that fight, I was actually going to pick Andrew Holbrook to beat Sage Northcutt in this one, in that fight, before Holbrook pulled out with an injury. I thought that Northcutt, we've seen the last fight against Cody Pfister, he showed a little bit of deficiencies in the ground, and there was a terrible stand-up in that fight as well, which kind of led to Northcutt taking Pfister down and getting a submission from there. But this fight, I think I'm a little bit more favourable with this matchup. I was just speaking with a good buddy of mine on Twitter, MMA fan Michael, who's a good buddy of mine, and we're both kind of on the same wavelength with this. We think that Northcutt's too fast, he's too big for Barberena, and he'll take him down, and he could maybe flurry him down there, and I possibly see a finish for him in this fight. But Barberena is very, very tough to finish. So this is the third fight in 6 months for Sage Northcutt. He beat Francisco Trevino in Houston, and then he went and beat Cody Pfister via submission back in December in the tough Namajunas versus Van Zandt card. Barberena, not very technical. He has some ground skills because he comes out the lab, but I just think that Northcutt is just too fast, too athletic. Will take him down once Barberena gets overly aggressive. But I like Northcutt in this one, but I don't think a finish will take place. I like Northcutt via decision. The fight I'm probably most looking forward to for the whole entire night is Iuri Alcantara against Jimmie Rivera, and that's pretty much because I'm a big fan of Jimmie Rivera. He was a guy who is undefeated, I believe. He was the CWFC champion. He had a whole load of fights where he was just getting decision victories, using his wrestling to his advantage, taking guys down, pounding on them, and just getting dominant decision victories. And then he started to find his hands, and we saw that when he came into the UFC. I saw that firsthand in Glasgow when he knocked out Marcus Brimage with a huge, I think it was a right hand if I remember right. He took him down, finished that one. Then he went down to Brazil and faced another great talent in that bantamweight division in Pedro Munoz. Got the split decision victory. A lot of people gave that to Munoz. I wasn't one of those people. And this is another big step up here for for Jimmie Rivera in Alcantara here. Alcantara doesn't lose to too many scrubs. He did lose to Frankie Saenz, who was a huge underdog in that fight last year. Came back with a win over Leandro Issa. He's a huge guy for that division. The way I see Jimmie Rivera winning this fight is using his grappling. He needs to try and get this guy down to the mat, but you have to be careful with Alcantara because he will go for submissions down there. He is the larger guy by, I think, a significant advantage in this one. But I just think Jimmie Rivera is very durable. He's got heavy hands. If he catches you, you will know about it. And I think he's got the better overall grappling chops, especially with the wrestling. He can keep you down there and ride out decision victory, and that's how I see this fight going. Jimmie Rivera via unanimous decision, but I would never count out Yuri Alcantara because I do think he's a very dangerous guy in the division. So Jimmie Rivera via decision for that one. Co-main event, heavyweight division, Josh Barnett against Big Ben Rothwell. I'll start off with Ben Rothwell. One of the coolest guys you could ever meet, possibly. He was a guest fighter in Dublin on the Holohan Smoker card, and he came over, I think it was the Sunday before the event, and he genuinely thought he was going to fight in this card. He thought that Mitrione was going to get the call up. And then I think there was the Lovsky-Miocic match was made while he was over there, and I was in the bar that night when him and his friends and family came in, and he was pissed about that. Ended up having a few drinks with the guy, and the guy wants to fight, and he didn't care who it was. He thought he was maybe going to fight on the Orlando card if he didn't get on that one, but he has got a match here against Josh Barnett here, and a matchup I like in this one. I think, if I remember right, he is the underdog for this matchup, and I like that a lot. So Ben Rothwell coming off a win over Matt Mitrione, and he was doing well in that fight, but then it was kind of Mitrione that gave him that fight. He went for a silly looking takedown. I think he was looking for the door, and he got caught in a choke. Big power, beat Brandon Vera away at UFC 164. Then came back at Fight Night, Jacare versus Masasi, knocked out Alistair Overeem, which is always a good thing in my book. And then he got that win there via the go-go choke against Mitrione. Josh Barnett, I thought he was in a war last time against Roy Nelson. Showed a lot of his kind of striking that he has. His striking's always been okay. His grappling's always been really good. But against the clinch, against the cage, he showed a lot of nice knees. He hurt Nelson to the body and got unanimous decision victory there. I like Ben Rothwell in this one. I just feel that Barnett might rush in for something and he might catch a big right hand and be taken down with that one. So I like Ben Rothwell in this one. I'm going to go Ben Rothwell via TKO in the second round. Barnett's hard to finish, but I think he can do it. And the main event of the night, Anthony Rumble Johnson against Ryan Bader. I was on the Bader bandwagon for this one. I always seem to pick against Ryan Bader. His last performance against Rashad Evans I thought was outstanding. I thought that his footwork has come along leaps and bounds. His striking's come on leaps and bounds. He's always going to have that grappling. He's got good takedown defense, which he showed against Rashad Evans. He's popping that jab out there. He's using some nice combinations. And, I mean, this guy, he wins his fight. He probably puts himself in line for DC Jones whenever they fight, if they do fight. Anthony Rumble Johnson came off that loss to DC with a really nice TKO victory over Jimmy Manoa. I picked Manoa in that one. I just thought he might catch him with something. But Johnson's got power for days and he shows it. We've seen in the fight against DC, he caught him with that right hand and he actually threw him across the other side of halfway across the cage. Huge power. The way this matchup is going to go, either Rumble Johnson in the first two rounds is going to catch Ryan Bader with something huge and TKO him. If this fight hits third round, it's all Ryan Bader in my opinion. I know that Johnson always has that power and it always stays with him, but his gas tank did deteriorate very badly against DC, and that's where you've got to give the advantage to Ryan Bader. Went with Ryan Bader to start off this when I first heard the matchup, but I'm going to go with the knockout artist. I think he's going to catch him with something in the first two rounds, preferably in the first round, because I will be putting Anthony Johnson on my counter move team. So I am going to go with Rumble Johnson via TKO in the very first round, but I think it's a closer fight, a very close fight than what it could have been like maybe a year and a half ago. So plus another thing I should maybe mention is Anthony Johnson does have wrestling credentials there. He could probably stop the takedown on Ryan Bader, but final pick, Anthony Rumble Johnson via TKO in the first round. So that's my picks for UFC on Fox, Johnson versus Bader. I'll be back for a kind of meh UFC 196 card. There are not many good fights in it. For Doom versus Velasquez 2, that should be out fairly soon as well. And come follow me on Twitter, WillMartin7MMA. Go follow all the guys I mentioned at the start of this, because they do good videos, they do great work, and guys who inspire me to kind of get better as well. Please comment down below with your thoughts on these fights, my picks. Please let me know your picks. And if you could if you could subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. So take care, everybody. I'll be back for UFC 196, and I will see you all soon. Go Cards.